The new assistant at the company, Chloe, posted an Instagram post. She was holding a man's arm, smiling sweetly, with a passive-aggressive caption. Who isn't a pampered little darling with an older brother? I looked at the man's collar in the photo and couldn't help but smile. It's been 8 years, and you finally cheated. 1. The new assistant at the company posted an Instagram post. She was holding a man's arm, smiling sweetly inside a car. I looked at the man's collar in the photo and couldn't help but smile. It's been 8 years, and you finally cheated. That tie was one I had personally tied for him just this morning, and it was also a birthday gift I'd given him 2 years ago. Marcus had no idea how long I'd spent picking it out, so naturally, he never imagined that a simple tie would be enough for me to recognize him. Thinking this, I looked at my phone screen. My best friend Sarah, on the other side of the chat window, was still gossiping with me. Look at her nerve, she practically shoves that Range logo in the picture, with a gold chain prominently displayed. How tacky. She's so obviously trying to show off who she's hooked, who knows what kind of old man she's with. Oh, right, I remember Marcus's car is the same model, isn't it? After sending that, probably afraid I'd see through her probing, she sent a confused emoji, feigning curiosity. But I just raised an eyebrow, not planning to answer directly. I didn't see that post, she blocked me. Then I directly sent a $200 digital payment. Go to the comments section, wish them a long and happy life, and ask who the man is. Sarah didn't accept the digital payment, sending back a question mark. So I sent another 2,000. I was honestly wondering what to do with the millions I got in pocket money each month. Get everyone you know to ask too. For every person who asks, I'll add 1,000 for you, and I'll give 1,000 to each person you recruit to comment. You get the money by screenshotting proof. Sarah immediately accepted the money, sending a thumbs up emoji. Sarah, your wish is my command. Afterwards, in less than half an hour, the assistant deleted the Instagram post amidst countless well wishes. I tapped my fingers, paid the bill. Sarah distributed the money to the other mercenaries, netting herself 3 months' worth of salary. She seemed a little unsatisfied. Too bad, she deleted it so quickly. Grace, that girl usually works in Marcus's office. If you really want to know, I can subtly ask about her next time I report on work. How about that? This is why I liked spending time with Sarah. Even though she never truly cared for me, she was pragmatic and only cared about money. She knew what not to expose and how to annoy people on my behalf. I thought, if it were in ancient times, she might have been a ruthless, paid enforcer for the Empress. Never mind, if the girl is shy, don't ask. Just as I finished sending the message and turned off my phone screen, I heard the sound of the door opening behind me. A subtle smile played on my lips as I greeted the man who had returned home. You're back? So late. Marcus froze for a moment. He looked at me, dressed specially in a pale silver gown today, then glanced at the cold food on the table, as if something just occurred to him. A flicker of apology crossed his face. He lowered his eyelashes, his brow slightly furrowed, looking just as he did when we first met. He stepped forward, intending to embrace me. Grace, I'm sorry, something came up at the company today. Something came up at the company. I smiled. Dating his mistress from the office certainly counted as company business. But I didn't say anything, simply took a step back, evading his embrace, and naturally walked over to the dining table, pulled out a chair, and sat down. It's fine. Come on, sit down quickly. It's been a while since I cooked. Come try my braised beef, see if my cooking has gotten rusty. Marcus see me. A little surprised by my evasion, but he just nodded, agreeing, and sat down across from me at the table. Braised beef was his favorite dish when we first started our business. Beef was expensive, so we could only afford it once every few months. Now, I make it on special occasions. He ate in silence, head bowed. Aside from exchanging rings at our wedding, this was only the second time I'd so seriously observed Marcus. He hadn't changed, he was still the same gentle, refined man he was in college, from his movements to his expressions. Only the slight gray at his temples and the stubble on his face proved that these years hadn't been wasted. He noticed my gaze, put down his spoon, looked at me, a gentle smile on his lips. Grace, I've been so swamped these past 2 days. I actually prepared your gift in advance. I bought you that necklace you mentioned wanting before, but I left it at the company. Afraid I wouldn't believe him, he added, you can ask Alex, he helped me buy it. Of course, I had no intention of asking, because I had just seen that necklace, in a photo posted by a certain young woman. Oh, my, it's sweet of you to remember something I said last year, but I actually already bought that myself. You should return this one, knowing your intention is enough for me. It's just a shame that after 8 years, our second wedding anniversary feels so rushed. Hearing that I didn't want the gift, Marcus's expression clearly relaxed, but he still looked at me, full of guilt. Grace, please don't be mad. I looked at his innocent, puppy-like expression, but inside, I found it amusing. Who would have thought? This man, now full of apologies, had made me wait at home for a full 6 hours, until midnight, just to go on a date with his mistress. I thought Leap, February 29th, would be meaningful back then, but I didn't realize it's so easy to forget when it doesn't come around often. Since we're on the subject, why don't we have a special anniversary today? As I spoke, I walked behind him and leaned down. I booked a presidential suite at the Pacific, and it's still reserved. Why don't you drive over there now? Hearing this, Marcus paused for a few seconds. Then, he turned around, put his arms around my neck, and kissed my cheek. He looked at me, a smile on his lips. Grace, why go through all that trouble for a hotel? Isn't our home big enough? As he spoke, his warm hand traced my shoulder, gently sliding down the strap of my dress. I didn't speak, just closed my eyes with a smile, meeting his kiss. Ugh. The smell of beef was too greasy, mixed with his perfume, it was truly sickening. Ultimately, our intimacy lasted less than 10 minutes. But this was his average performance these past few years. I had nothing to complain about. For a 30-year-old, he tried his best. This just made me even more curious. He was like this with me, but he had the energy to play with a younger woman? It was already the middle of the night. He must have been truly tired from the day, as he fell asleep very quickly. I quietly got up, picked up my phone again, and scrolled through my chat list. Help me draft a divorce agreement. Jessica, on the other end, was so startled she sent holy crap but immediately unsent it, replacing it with a question mark. Did you and Marcus have a fight? I smiled. Didn't you get the 1,000 I sent you? Jessica was an old friend we had worked with since the beginning of our venture. She had her own law firm, acted as the company's legal consultant, and was also an old classmate of mine. My single sentence was enough for her to piece almost everything together. Grace, are you suspecting Marcus of cheating? Based on a picture without faces? Marcus isn't that kind of person. You've worked so hard for so many years to get where you are. Don't be impulsive, Grace. Marcus was indeed not someone who would easily reveal his true colors. But that impatient young woman was another story. It wasn't Serp. Rising that Jessica was astonished. The story of me and Marcus, from high school sweethearts to husband and wife, was practically common knowledge among our classmates. Even now, when I recall the scene of him standing on the sports field, holding flowers, his face flushed, confessing his feelings to me, I still find myself smiling. But my typing wasn't slow. I'm not being impulsive right now. In a couple of days, I might not be able to compete with a younger woman anymore. Love has an expiration date. It's better to cash in before it expires. Jessica, my dear lawyer, you owe a good portion of your success today to all the clients I've introduced to you. Can you personally take on my case? Based on your experience, how much longer do I need to successfully get a divorce? Jessica on the other end was silent for a long time. About 10 minutes later, she finally replied. Give me some time to draft the contract. You should still think about it. If you're determined, I'll do my best to help you. Think about it. I had already thought about it countless times. But I just replied with okay. The next morning, after Marcus finished breakfast, I also got dressed. He was a little surprised. Are you coming out with me? I tied his tie for him, just as I had for years. Even though I don't handle day-to-day affairs, I'm still a shareholder in the company. I heard there have been some financial issues lately, so I'm going to review them. He was calm about it, giving me a light hug, as gentle as ever. Okay, don't overwork yourself. Then he naturally glanced at the sunlight outside the window and said, it's a bit warm lately. I'll turn on the car's air conditioning first. You can come down slowly, no rush. I nodded, walked aside, and unhurriedly began choosing which handbag to take today. Watching Rush downstairs, I suddenly found it somewhat amusing. How thoughtful. He was a self-made man, the big boss who built Hayes from scratch, yet why was he so flustered? Aired about his affair potentially being discovered that he could only come up with such clumsy excuses? But his fear meant he felt guilty. It's very difficult to make a man feel guilty. Fortunately, when I got into the car, the perfume wasn't strong, and I didn't find anything too personal like lipstick. Although there were still a few long hairs and a tiny bit of water residue from cleaning on the passenger seat, I chose to sit in the back, so it wasn't an issue. After getting out of the car, I didn't follow Marcus to his office. Instead, as I'd said earlier, I headed straight for the finance department. Sarah was talking to a few new interns at the time and seemed a bit surprised to see me. "Grace, you should have told me you were coming. I'd have prepared tea for you." Saying this, she called a young intern to make tea. I placed my brand new designer handbag on her desk, then sat to the side, nodding for them to continue their conversation. Just airing out my thoughts. Sarah was used to my visits every now and then. After all, I used to hold her position, so watching from the side wasn't a problem. I spent the morning checking the accounts. The issues were with the new hires' ledgers. They were unfamiliar with the system, so there were some minor problems, nothing major, just some details that hadn't been handled properly. After giving a few pointers, there was nothing else for me to do. I stayed in the office until evening. When it was time to leave, the rest of the department had gone, and Sarah picked up her designer handbag from the table, looking at me again. "Grace, are you planning to pick up Marcus later? He's treating the new hires to dinner tonight." I looked at her smile and generally understood what she meant. Okay. 3. I went home to tidy up, then expertly prepared some hangover remedy, put it in an insulated bag, and headed out. The weather was lovely, with a perfectly timed rain. I drove to the address Sarah gave me, a beautiful Japanese barbecue restaurant, perfect for gatherings and drinks, with a great atmosphere that young people would enjoy. I deliberately stood in the rain outside for a while. Enough to make me look pathetic, but not unsightly. As soon as I walked into the restaurant, I ran into Alex, Marcus's friend and the hands-off manager of the new hire training department. The moment he saw me, he froze. After a few glances at the lively private room behind him, he nervously walked up to me. "Grace, why are you here?" I smiled gently, taking in the man's awkwardness. Was he an accomplice, or merely covering up out of so-called brotherhood? It didn't matter. It would be more troublesome if he didn't know. "I'm afraid Marcus might drink too much, so I came to pick him up." Alex seemed a bit surprised, probably trying to guess my intentions. But I couldn't be bothered with him and simply pushed open the private room door. Instantly, the previously noisy private room fell silent. All eyes turned to me, including the young woman who looked barely in her 20s, sitting next to him. When I opened the door, the young woman was practically plastered to Marcus, her hand tightly clutching his arm. Her cheeks were flushed, as if she were drunk, her already clear and delicate face now hazy, very alluring. It utterly clashed with the rather lavish necklace around her neck. Although was slightly frowning, he was still serving her food. Seeing me, Marcus hastily put down his bowl and chopsticks but didn't stand up, likely fearing he'd disturb the drunk young woman beside him. He looked at me, his furrowed brow showing either panic or displeasure. "Grace? What are you doing here?" Alex, who had caught up behind me, quickly introduced me to everyone. "This is Grace, one of our group's major shareholders, the former head of the company's finance department, and the CEO's wife, Mrs. Hayes. Everyone, quickly greet the boss's wife." I smoothed my damp hair to the side, revealing a polite smile. "That's no way to introduce me. I'm not much older than you all." Boss's wife sounds so old-fashioned. "Just call me Grace." The bewildered new hires in the room finally understood the situation and scrambled to their feet, calling me Grace one after another. While I smiled and responded, I subtly observed everyone. Although they were outwardly respectful, their gazes kept drifting towards the young woman next to Marcus, with amusement, speculation, and schadenfreude in their eyes. So, this was an open secret. In their eyes, I was probably playing the part of the wronged wife catching her husband in the act. But I chose not to. I motioned for everyone to sit down, then walked over to Marcus. I placed the hangover remedy in my hand in front of him, then looked directly into his eyes. "Don't let the new girl drink too much. I brought this hangover remedy for you. You two can share it." After saying that, I glanced around at the other young people. "Tonight's meal is on me. Eat your fill, don't hold back. But don't drink too much alcohol, you still have work tomorrow." Then, I looked at Marcus again, gave him a small smile, and walked out the door. Perhaps it was good luck, but the rain only intensified once I got home. I took a shower and put on my bathrobe. I turned on the TV and found a random movie. I listened to the rain, waiting at home. Marcus came back very late. He reeked of alcohol and was soaking wet, leaning on the wall to walk. He seemed surprised to find me still awake. He froze when he saw me. I went over to help him, speaking softly. "I told you not to drink so much. Your liver wasn't looking good at your last checkup." Perhaps it was the alcohol's effect, but he suddenly seemed bewildered, showing a childlike awkwardness. He hugged me tightly, his voice trembling slightly. "Grace, Don't leave me, Grace. I love you, Grace. Ha, men. 7/10 drunk, acting until you cry. But looked truly dejected, as if he had genuinely suffered a setback. I patted his back gently, as if comforting a child. You're drunk. I'll make you a fresh cup of hangover remedy. When he heard that, he started acting up even more. I don't want it. I want you, Grace. I really do remember our anniversary. I was just afraid of coming back to see you like you were back then. Don't leave, I repeated myself once more. You're drunk. 4. After that, several more days passed. Marcus seemed to have completely forgotten about that night. Every day, he'd wake up, go to work, and come home. He even started coming home earlier than usual, and every now and then, he'd bring me flowers, just like when we were dating. Sarah slyly mentioned that the former assistant had been fired, and Marcus was now focused on work and more devoted to our family, truly enviable. Alex went even further, first bringing over the necklace, specifically saying Marcus had asked him to buy it long ago and he had just forgotten to give it to Marcus. I sent Sarah a digital payment, only thanking her, without specifying what for. I accepted the necklace, didn't unwrap it, and immediately listed it on eBay. But I wasn't giving Marcus the cold shoulder. On the contrary, I was treating him even better than I had in the past 8 years. I woke up early every day to make breakfast, waited for him to come home in the evenings, watched movies with him on his days off, and accompanied him to social events. It was as if we had returned to our honeymoon phase. This continued for nearly a month. To outsiders, we appeared increasingly loving, but I was pondering. Had I underestimated her patience? Thankfully, one day, while picking Marcus up from work, the scene I had been anticipating finally appeared. The pitiful young woman, eyes welling with tears, stood at the company entrance in a loose, pale yellow dress. It was then that I realized one thing Marcus had said was true. Her eyes and brows did indeed resemble mine when I was younger. The moment Marcus saw her, his face was filled with surprise. You. Ch. Lo? Only now did I learn her name was Chloe. The company had long since closed for the day, and there was hardly anyone around. Chloe's sobs echoed in the lobby, sounding exceptionally pitiful. She threw herself into Marcus's arms, whimpering. Are you abandoning me? Why didn't you come back for lunch today? I told you I don't want a name, I don't want money, I don't want anything. I just like you. Is it so hard for you to come back for lunch every day? Marcus froze for a moment, looking at me. No wonder she had been so well behaved lately. It turned out Marcus was just good at managing his time. I looked at the luxurious brands Chloe was wearing, even her slippers were LV, costing 30 to 40,000. I found her claim of not wanting anything utterly ridiculous. Finally, Marcus pushed Chloe away. His gaze lingered on Chloe, but he ultimately took my hand and turned to leave. Chloe, stop acting crazy. I clearly saw a flicker of disbelief cross Chloe's face, but it was immediately replaced by a heartbreaking sorrow. Her voice was cold, trembling. You can be heartless towards me, but are you really going to abandon your own flesh and blood? Marcus stopped in his tracks and turned around. His voice was also trembling. Say that again? Chloe, her voice tearful, pulled out a positive pregnancy test from her bag. I said, I'm pregnant. We have a child now. You can't abandon both of us. Marcus, as she expected, turned back. She watched him approach step by step, feeling utterly wronged, tears streaming down her face. She reached out to Marcus, hoping for an embrace. Slap. Instead, she was slapped across the face by Marcus. She looked at Marcus in disbelief, clutching her instantly swollen face. This time, the pain truly made her cry. What are you doing? She looked up, meeting a pair of bloodshot eyes. The usually gentle Marcus now looked like a furious beast, glaring at her, his breathing heavy, as if he wanted to devour her whole. You bitch, what am I doing? You know what dirty tricks you've been pulling. Chloe's legs went limp from fright, and she fell heavily to the ground. Then, red blood spread beneath her, and her face instantly turned white. It hurts so much. Help me. She curled up on the ground, gasping, but didn't even glance at her, turning instead to take my hand. Let's go, Grace. I didn't move. I took out my phone and called 911. After the ambulance arrived, I got in with them and went to the hospital. 5. Chloe woke up the next day. The first person she saw when she woke up was me, sitting by her bedside. I guessed she wasn't in a very good mood. Or perhaps she had no time to think about such things at all. She saw me and immediately asked, "Where's my baby?" I could only shake my head and tell her honestly, "It's gone." The light in her eyes instantly vanished. Good. With that lost, disoriented look, she was even more like me now. Chloe cried and gripped my shoulders, digging her nails in so hard it hurt. You're lying to me. You barren woman, how dare you harm my baby? My baby, no, no, no. I didn't say a word, letting her rant. Over a while, she seemed to remember something, released me, threw back the covers, and looked at her lower body, wanting to tear off the padding the nurse had changed for her to see for herself. No, it can't be, it was just a fall, it can't be. Fearing that blood would get everywhere and be difficult to clean up, I pressed the call button and summoned the nurse. And so, the nurse, and the doctor, practically everyone, told her that her baby was gone. Only then did she finally accept the truth. I returned to her bedside once more. She was silent now, as if she had died, just staring blankly out the window. I began to speak. The doctor said you have recurrent miscarriages, so it will be very difficult for you to have children after this pregnancy. I saved you not out of pity, this is all your own doing. I just feared you might die inexplicably. So I needed to save you, and then tell you why your tricks were useless. Because you and Marcus cannot, and will not, have a child. Chloe's eyes flickered, looking at me with a hollow gaze, tinged with a barely perceptible hint of surprise. That's right, the reason we hadn't had children all these years wasn't because of me. Our wedding anniversary was set on leap, February 29th. It was a very meaningful day because it was originally the due date for Marcus's and my first child. When we first started our business, Marcus was busy every day, always on the go. I was the same. I had just graduated not long ago, balancing studying for various economics-related certifications, working odd jobs to supplement our income, and helping Marcus with his nascent business. But when you're young, you always have energy. Busy for over 10 hours during the day, yet still having the energy for intimate moments at night. At that time, I was full of hope, believing that if we endured the hard times, everything would get better. I even enjoyed the full and fulfilling life we had back then. Then, one day, I received two pieces of news simultaneously. First, Marcus's first venture capital investment paid off big, and the money we had quadrupled, putting us directly into the middle class. Second, I was pregnant. Marcus was overjoyed. He only had Grandpa at home, who was quite old, and Marcus hoped Grandpa could hold a grandchild before he passed away. Now that we finally had a child on the way, he was naturally happy. Although I felt that having a child at that time would be a stretch in terms of time and energy, he insisted on keeping the baby and told me that now that our financial situation was comfortable, he would do his best to take care of me. After much persuasion, we began a period of continuing to build our business while preparing for the baby. As our assets grew, our business naturally became larger and busier. Initially, he would still make time every day to talk to the BA. Buy in my belly, lull me to sleep, and massage my swollen legs and feet. But in the later months, as the company reached a critical phase, he became increasingly busy and rarely came home. Although he hired a caregiver for me, I always had a bad feeling. Logically, this should have been a child born in spring. I paused here. The rest of the story was easy to guess. The further along in pregnancy, the greater the risk of miscarriage, and the more dire the consequences. Due to a moment of negligence, when the caregiver wasn't present, I lost my baby and was left with extensive stretch marks that would never fade. It was then that I first proposed divorce. Marcus was filled with remorse. It was as if he wasn't the one who had insisted on keeping the baby, nor the one who hadn't come home for a full month, nor the one who wasn't there when I had a severe hemorrhage and entered the ICU. He cried, begging me, waiting outside my hospital room day and night, saying he was sorry, that he would balance work and spend time with me, waiting for our second child. Hearing second child, I sneered and threw him out. I had been absolutely resolute. But then his grandfather, nearly 80, walked into the hospital room, tears streaming down his face, saying their family had wronged me. My unfortunate childhood was mostly due to my mother's failed marriage, and then her mental state, which was so broken by it that she entered a psychiatric hospital after I turned 18. The few moments of family warmth I had experienced came from Marcus's family. I simply couldn't bear to see the old man so heartbroken, so I compromised. However, after his grandfather left, Marcus and I set a rule: he had to get a vasectomy, and he couldn't have a reversal surgery until I wanted children. He agreed. A month later, he made up for the wedding we hadn't had before, and our wedding anniversary was also changed to that day, leap, February 29th. At this point, a slight flicker of emotion stirred in C. Chloe's blank eyes. She looked at me, her pale lips parted, then closed again. I stood up. I've already paid your medical bills. After you recover, whether you leave or cause a scene, it's up to you. I don't care what the truth is, why you miscarried before, or whose child was in your belly. None of it matters to me. Then, I prepared to leave. As I reached the door, Chloe suddenly called out to me. Grace, Marcus really loves you. I didn't stop. Don't say that, it's too pathetic. 6. When I returned home, Marcus was in the living room. Marcus had abandoned his usual composed and refined demeanor. Overnight, his face was covered in stubble, and his hair had turned noticeably grayer. He was slumped on the sofa, surrounded by overturned liquor bottles, both clear and beer. I wrinkled my nose and walked around him, but he suddenly startled awake. Seeing me, he lunged towards me almost frantically, staggering, and wrapped his arms around my waist. Grace, don't cry, please don't cry anymore. It's all my fault. I'll make it up to you. I won't go looking for Chloe anymore. Please forgive me. At his words, I touched my own face. So I could still shed tears. I had thought my tears had dried up 8 years ago. Let go. I didn't rest last night. I need to go wash up and sleep. Marcus lowered his head, resting his chin on my shoulder, his voice dry. Grace, are you still jealous? I only ever saw her as a substitute for you. I truly couldn't stand his tone. I turned around and hugged him back, feigning a fragile expression just like Chloe. I'm exhausted. Let me go rest. He lifted my face, wiped away the tear marks, then kissed the corner of my eye. After confirming I truly looked fine, he nodded. Okay, I need to rest too. I'll go with you. After taking a shower, I felt much more refreshed. I don't know how much Marcus drank last night, but he was snoring loudly the moment his head hit the pillow. I walked to the storage room and pulled out the suitcase I had already packed. Then I took out my phone, contacted the housekeeper, instructed her not to clean the bedroom and wake Marcus, and also arranged for her to add an extra serving of yogurt for his hangover to dinner. Then I left directly. I had saved a lot of money while working at Hayes. After deducting Marcus's daily expenses, there was still a lot left over. So I bought another house on the other side of the city, under my Eleanor's name. Marcus didn't know about it. As soon as I got home, I put down my suitcase and scanned the surroundings. Eleanor wasn't home, but the room had just been tidied, so it seemed she had gone for her follow-up appointment at the hospital. I left the suitcase in my room, turned around, and went out again. At law firm. So, is the evidence conclusive? Jessica poured me a cup of coffee, but I waved it away. If you wanted, I could even bring in witnesses. So, how much can I get now? Jessica raised an eyebrow, placing the documents in front of me, her gaze on me tinged with a smile. Grace, you have spirit, and you're clear-headed. No witnesses needed. The cohabitation evidence you gave me is enough for you to get 60% of the Hayes family's assets. As she spoke, a hint of irrepressible joy flickered across her face. This case, it could practically be written into our law firm's resume. Watching her joyful expression, I wasn't as excited. Then give me the contract first, and prepare for a potential lawsuit. It might not be settled through negotiation. Jessica agreed, handed me a stack of documents, and then motioned for the others in the law firm to continue working. As I was leaving, I heard her sigh softly. What a shame. I saw that couple and thought there was true love in the world. Love? I chuckled softly as I walked out the door. Love, it's just an illusion. 7. It came as no surprise to me that Marcus would show up. After all, I hadn't made any effort to hide my whereabouts. That day, after walking with Eleanor and buying groceries, we were chatting and laughing on our way home. As I opened the elevator door, I saw a tall man, 6 feet or more, standing at the entrance, holding a huge bouquet of roses, looking utterly forlorn. His eyes lit up when he saw me, but he grew visibly awkward when he saw Eleanor. Mom, Grace, you're back. He stepped forward, intending to take the groceries from Eleanor. Most of my unfortunate childhood stemmed from Eleanor's failed marriage, and subsequently, her mental state, which was so broken by it that she entered a psychiatric hospital after I turned 18. However, with money these past few years, everything seemed to simplify. She recovered quickly, even developing a fondness for traveling, often going on solo trips, meeting many people, and her mindset had become much more peaceful. Eleanor didn't hand over the groceries, she just opened the fingerprint lock and slipped into the kitchen. I'll cook. You two chat. This made Marcus even more flustered. He followed me as I changed shoes, and we went to the home office. After setting down the roses, he spoke again. Grace, why did you suddenly move out? When did Mom get discharged? I had no idea. I went to the side to make some tea, handed him a cup, and took a small sip from my own before sitting across from him. Isn't it obvious? I'm separating for a divorce. Marcus looked incredulous. I pulled the already prepared divorce agreement from a nearby drawer and handed it to him. Mr. Hayes, please sign this. Marcus looked at the divorce agreement, then at me, as if he couldn't connect the two things. Are you sure? Have you really thought this through? I smiled, taking another look at Marcus. He looked much more haggard than before, his clothes a bit wrinkled, and his tie was crooked. It always was when he tied it himself. I nodded. I already signed this divorce agreement a month ago. Marcus gritted his teeth, his gaze almost angry, yet deeply bewildered. Why? Is there something else I'm in? OT doing right? Yes, how would he understand? He probably thought he had changed everything he possibly could. But he didn't know that changing didn't erase what had happened. He didn't know that when I asked him why he always looked to the left during meetings, he explained it was because I used to sit on his left, but I discovered it was only because Sarah liked to dress fashionably and tended to expose herself when she flipped her hair. He also didn't know that one time, when I wanted to bring him lunch at the office, I ran into a female subordinate outside his office who was tying his tie for him. They were standing so close, they could practically feel each other's breath. That night, his shirt reeked of another woman's perfume. And many more. So many. He always had many women around him, always playing the role of a fair and gentle gentleman, never actively revealing his true intentions. And he never refused anyone. Until finally, Chloe crossed that line. I looked at Marcus standing before me. He was like a dead part of my heart. The initial spark I felt for him, looking back now, was nothing special, just like anyone else. You're a good person, but this time I'm choosing myself. Marcus, too, became hesitant, just like Chloe. In the end, he signed. Just as I expected, he fell for it. Even if it was just to show his love for me, he would sign as I wished. My time pretending to be a lovesick, heartbroken woman wasn't wasted. After he signed, he shamelessly asked me, will we still see each other after this? I'll still keep loving you. We can start over again. With that wish fulfilled, a weight lifted from my shoulders. I put away the divorce papers and slumped into the chair. Perhaps. After all, I don't want your house, and I don't want your cars. I can only take the shares you hold. So, we'll at least see each other at the shareholders' meeting. 8. After I sent Marcus away, Eleanor and I went traveling. I needed something to do during the 1-month cooling off period for the divorce. I didn't want Marcus bothering me. He relentlessly called me on video, even bringing up Grandpa when the month was almost over. So I advised him to get the reversal surgery done, find a good girl soon, so Grandpa could hold a grandchild before he died. He didn't dare bring it up again. A month passed. The divorce was finalized, and the shares were mine. Another half-year later, Chloe came to see me. She gave me a bouquet of flowers and told me she felt very guilty about my divorce. Her family was poor, and to pay for university tuition, she had been a mistress to others and had had multiple abortions. That's why she was truly humble back then, and she really liked Marcus, not even minding being the other woman or my stand-in. She said that child was really Marcus. But now, she had broken ties with Marcus, sold all her luxury items, saved a bit of money, and planned to go abroad to open a small shop and live a stable life. I accepted her flowers but wired her some money. I told her I should thank her, otherwise, I might have hesitated and not received so much money. She seemed to understand and yet not understand, and she said thank you too. 2 more months passed, and Hayes held its 40th shareholders meeting this year. When I got back, I sold all my shares in Hayes. I reinvested in a financial company and, while I was at it, poached Sarah to be a director there. Sarah truly lived up to her reputation as someone who was obsessed with money. She was practically born for finance. Under her leadership, the company steadily grew. Although its scale couldn't compare to Hayes, I was making far more money than I ever did at Hayes. With more money than I knew what to do with, I picked up my old hobbies. I painted occasionally, traveled with Eleanor sometimes, and now and then went to fashion shows to check out handsome guys, living a carefree life. After that, since I was rarely home, Marcus's appearances with flowers outside my building became fewer and farther between. My last meeting with Marcus was at Grandpa's funeral service. At that time I was dressed in a black gown, standing among the mourners. Marcus had gained a lot of weight, his face unshaven, looking no different from most nouveau riche businessmen. He had a little boy with him who didn't resemble him, and there was no woman in sight. We looked at each other from a distance. Yet it looked as if we belonged to different generations. He recognized me, and the flesh on his face trembled for a moment. It seemed as if he was about to cry, or perhaps speak. Ultimately, he turned his head away and retreated behind the funeral home. I heard he never married again but had an illegitimate child. He was so vexed by women trying to use their children to climb the social ladder that he donated all his assets at a young age and was never heard from again. But that had nothing to do with me. I held billions in assets and had plenty of time. My beautiful, free life was just beginning. Thanks for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.